Hello friends, Baltmatrix here, and today we are taking a look at Transformers Cyberverse Ultimate Class, Megatron, and Optimus Prime. Both of these figures retail for $30, or $30 a piece. I'm going to tell you right now, these figures are awesome. Both of them. Now, they both each have minor flaws that we'll get into here in a little bit, but both of them I think are equally awesome. In fact, I would go so far as to say these two figures are the two best figures in the Transformers Cyberverse line so far. It's actually not even close. All the other figures are kind of garbage and crap compared to these two. So let's go ahead and get into it by taking a closer look at each one of them individually. Starting off by taking a look at everybody's favorite despot leader,
Beef Tank.
I mean Megatron. The overall aesthetic of the figure is good, and the figure also feels good. It feels sturdy. It feels put together, as opposed to all of the other figures that I've reviewed in the line so far. Man, I've got to say that this figure just looks great. However, he has no elbows, so he can't bend at the elbows, which is a problem. Color-wise, perfect Megatron color scheme. It is off gray, or gray. It's gray. It's not off gray. And then the head and other parts here and there are silver, and all the red bits are red where they're supposed to be. Megatron's head sculpt here is absolutely fantastic. It is G1-esque without being completely G1. It's very similar. It's kind of like a combination between Transformers animated Megatron and Transformers Prime Megatron. It reminds me of a gorilla. It really does. Now, if you've seen my Megatron Scout class review, you will know that that figure was a piece of garbage, but the overall look of Megatron worked. We have the same thing here. He does not have an Energon mace. He does have Poseability. Head cannot move, unfortunately. Arms move forward and back and in and out to the sides. No torso articulation. Hips. Legs can kick forward that much on ratchets. Can kick back that much. Knees do bend nearly 90 degrees. And the feet do move for the transformation. So the feet in the front move and the heels move. You can get some okay poses, but because of the limitations of the arms, they all look kind of silly. Now, speaking of silly, let's go ahead and talk about his weapon gimmick. That is partially transforming the figure so that his Mega Fusion Cannon can point forward. Now, when you do this, you will notice that Megatron has the Japanese crotch abdomen thrust going on here. That's part of the appeal of the figure, I think. It works well. And so does his gimmick, which is activated via this button on his left arm. Though the button does require quite a bit of force. So he's got this Fusion Cannon Blast, otherwise known as Slap You Silly with My Gun. I'm going to kill you! Okay, so the gimmick is actually called Fusion Mega Shot. I actually find this a lot of fun. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's silly. Okay, so we've already done part of the transformation. The next part is first fold up the toes into the treads, come to the inside of the left leg and flip out this gray piece, and then that will peg into the other leg, like that. Then take the entire torso and crotch and collapse it up into the bottom of the arms. Then come to the side of the legs and flip them out, and there are two pegs that's going to peg in. There's a peg on the hip that will peg in here, and there's a peg on the flap that will peg in just underneath the armpit. And they peg in nice and tight. And lastly, we push the head down, and that clips into place. But it will flip out once we transform it back, and there's a little button back here that I can't hit with my finger. And you end up with
Beef Tank.
Megatron's tank mode is great. Yes, it does need more paint. I'm not going to lie about that. but it works. It works incredibly well. It holds together well. It feels solid. It feels sturdy. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. There's a full transformation present with the figure. It's just good. It works. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. Huh. Who'da thunk it? And the figure's gimmick works perfectly in this mode. There's just enough clearance on the bottom of the treads for the little piece on the bottom to flip out. The gimmick's fun. It can get annoying real quick if you have a kid playing with it, but it's fun. The figure's a good size, a good weight. Okay, poseability. Huh, it's a good figure. Weird. All joking aside, I'm actually really happy that these figures are both really good. And Prime is surprisingly good. The paint scheme works well. Yes, he's hollow in some places, but I can kind of forgive it, and you'll see why in a little bit. The overall look of him is different enough that he's still G1, but he's unique. The transformation is also pretty unique, which we'll see in a little bit. The only real complaint I have is his hands. I don't like the fact that his hands aren't really visible. They're just kind of behind part of the alt mode. I think that's lazy design, but given the rest of this line, I'll take it. Poseability is actually much greater than Megatron, which we'll get into in a second, and the gimmick is actually really cool. A little trigger happy, but cool. In terms of poseability, head does swivel back and forth, arms move forward and back with no problems, and the shoulders move in and out. And look, elbows! Unfortunately, there's no torso articulation, but the figure can kick forward a little bit, can kick back a little bit, and well over 90-degree bend at the knees. So there are some poseability options, though not many. Now the gimmick. It's called the Matrix Mega Shot, and it is activated by pushing either button on either side of the figure's head. And when you do that, you have a tendency to get your finger in the way, so we'll do that again, just so you can see it real quick. Like that. Now, this thing, it looks pretty dumb, I'm not going to lie. But there is a little gear underneath his right arm that when you spin the gear, it spins the Matrix and opens it up for shooting. I like that. It's stupid but cool. Oh my heavens, a Transformers Cyberverse gimmick that works. Sliding the blue in the chest of the Matrix open, you can see there's a full Matrix in there. No, it's not the Matrix that we know. It's a little bit different, but that's a Matrix. That's also very well detailed. Now, when we get into the transformation, this does get in the way a little bit. You do have a tendency to just accidentally pop that Matrix open. But the transformation for this figure is more complex than I originally thought it was going to be. Start off with, come to the back and open up the entire back panel. This piece, which will form the top of the vehicle mode, is its own separate piece that comes in the box. You just peg it in and it stays there. It's not coming off anytime soon. Grab the robot head, flip it up and over, and those side bits over as well. Then come to the entire torso, and the entire torso will unpeg. This is actually a little bit harder than you might think. It'll unpeg 1, and then unpeg 2, and then the entire top of the torso will drop down onto this clip. So get it lined up and then push down and slid into place like that. Then the backpack will flop over the top like that. Then take the arms, fold up the elbows, and do the classic Prime thing of fold that back, and then the Autobot symbols will flip forward and peg into place just behind the front. And the arms will fold forward and peg into place as well. So do that for both top and bottom, like so. And just get that out, pegged up and out of the way. Flip that up. And then finally, come down to the legs, flip out the bottom of the heels like that, and then these will slide together or snap together. And this is probably the weakest part of the figure, this just gap here. But there's a reason for that. This whole section Whole rear section folds up, snaps over the legs, and then pegs into place. And we end up with
Hound Truck.
So I did screw up a little bit intentionally, because when you push the entire top of the vehicle mode down, it ends up deploying the Gimmick. And in this mode, rolling the figure causes this wheel to turn, and that happens. So you get this effect. And again, we have a vehicle mode that does need more paint, but overall, it's pretty good. Yeah, you've got some opening here in the back of the cab, but honestly, this works. I think this works pretty well. It's a good Optimus Prime. The transformation's fun. It's not horribly complicated, but it actually transforms, and the Gimmick doesn't get in the way. Yes, the Gimmick can be annoying in spots, but it ultimately doesn't get in the way of the toy, which every other freaking figure other than Ultimate Megatron has had that problem. Now, putting the alt modes next to each other, you see that Prime is a lot smaller, or feels a lot smaller than Megatron. And I'm okay with that, because Megatron is supposed to be a big bad tank, while Prime has always been just a red truck. I think these figures are both very, very cool. Expensive? Yes. But they're both way better than anything else Cyberverse has released up to this point. One thing I do find funny is that Prime is just a smidge taller than Megatron in robot mode. And that's primarily because Megatron is doing that slouching / crotch thrusting thing. Oh well. If you are interested in Cyberverse at all, these two figures need to be on your short list. The gimmicks actually complement the design of the figures, and they're a lot of fun. Both figures feel tough. Well, I shouldn't say tough. Both figures feel complete. And yes, they do sacrifice a little bit for their gimmicks. Prime, I think, comes out better than Megatron, simply because Megatron doesn't have any elbows, and Prime does. Now, I wouldn't go into these figures expecting superposable figures like we are going to be getting with Transformers Siege, or Powers of the Prime, or Titans Returns. Go into these figures knowing that they are going to be a little less posable than other figures or other Transformers. I mean, they're not going to be masterpiece Transformers, that's for sure. But I like both of these figures. I think both of these figures are definitely worth having in your collection, especially if you're thinking about getting into the Cyberverse line. Don't bother with the Warriors, don't bother with the Scouts, don't bother with the Ultras. Just go whole hog for the Ultimates only. They are quality figures. My son loves both of these guys in their alt mode. He's not a big robot fan, he likes cars and trucks right now. So that passes the Sun test for me. Again, I actually like Prime a little bit more than Megatron, but they're both quality figures, well deserving of your hard-earned money. So folks, let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit the like and subscribe button, and be sure to hit that bell for more Transformers reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.